Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Time to take a look at the $20 million Saudi Cup on Saturday in Saudi Arabia. It's a pretty strong field. We're going the about distance of a mile and an eighth, and it's like sort of a Belmont Park mile and an eighth, Mike. It's one turn. The Japanese are very well represented in this race, and they have dominated international racing over the last few years, whether it's at Saudi Arabia, whether it's in Dubai, whether it's at the Breeders' Cup, but they have to face the American contingent, the Bob Baffert-trained Taiba and Country Grammar.
Yeah, it feels like the one turn 9 furlong race maybe helps Taiba, who's going to be heavily favored here more than it helps anyone else. We'll see how the Japanese horses do, Dan. You're right that they've really traveled well over the last year or two. They did have a pretty strong hope in this race last year, though, and he was terrible.
We also have the defending champion in this race. Emblem pulled off a huge upset in the Saudi Cup to beat Country Grammar. He won't be that big of a price, but it'll still be a playable price if you believe. And it seems that this racetrack might be a horse for course sort of surface. We'll take this field in post position order, beginning with one of the Japanese hopes, the number 7, Panthalassa. Now, Panthalassa has only raced once on dirt in his career. That was a listed stake back in 2020. He finished 11th that day. He is a very good turf horse. He dead heated for the win in the Dubai turf on Dubai World Cup night last year. He finished a good second in the Autumn Emperor's Cup in Japan, but dirt's a huge question.
Yeah, it's a huge question, but I guess if you're going to give him a shot on it one more time, you might as well do it for 20 million bucks, Dan. They're going to give him a chance in there. He's really good on turf. I won't be betting him on dirt.
Taiba won the Santa Anita Derby in only his second lifetime start. He won the Pennsylvania Derby at a mile and an eighth, and then he cut back to 7 furlongs for the Grade 1 Malibu, a race restricted to 3-year-olds. Let's watch the Malibu towards the end of 2022 at 7/8 of a mile, and Mike Smith hustled him into the race early. He's in between horses right now. He's going to get the better of this overmatched straight no chaser, and he grinds his way to a victory. He's earned triple-digit buyers in his last 4 starts, and as you mentioned, this one-turn mile and an eighth might fit him very well.
Yeah, exactly. It does feel like it's a benefit for him, maybe more than anyone else. The good thing about it is, I know he turned back to win last time, Dan, but the best part of that Malibu was the last furlong or so. He was really finishing while getting away from those horses. So I don't think you have to worry about him stretching back out. He's really talented. It's not like he doesn't, still have something to prove, but he's, basically shown himself to be a good horse from day one. And I suspect he's going to be really tough in here.
The number 3, Crown Pride, is one of the better dirt horses in Japan. He won the UAE Derby in Dubai last year, and he's come close in all 3 starts since competing in the Kentucky Derby. Remember, he was part of that very fast pace in last year's Kentucky Derby before tiring. He had a big late lead last time out. He was run down by a horse he'll face again, Junlight Boat.
Yeah, he's tough to get a read on, I guess. He did start out his career pretty well. He obviously gets a pass for the Kentucky Derby, where he actually, drew some interest in. It's not like he was a huge long shot in that race. His 3 races so far since the Derby, I guess they're okay. I found him, pretty tough to take off of that last one, especially when you consider that the horse that ran him down is back in here. That horse seemed like he ran way better than this horse last time.
Up next is the number 9, Scotland Yard, who began his career for trainer Steve Asmussen in the United States. 4 starts, couldn't obtain a win. He's got a beautiful pedigree. He's by Quality Road from the family of Beholder and Into Mischief and Mendelssohn. He was purchased for $255,000 last year at public auction, sent to Saudi Arabia, and has been unstoppable since against weaker competition. A huge win last time out.
Yeah, I guess the question that you need some confirmation about, Dan, is, has he just really improved as an older horse, or is he just finding the right field since he's gotten over there? He wasn't very good over here as a 3-year-old, but maybe he's that much better.
Sunset Flash is up next, the number 13, and she's a really honest mare. She's won, 16 times in her career. She's won her last 4 races, 6 of her last 7. The question is class. She's going to be taking a big step up, or so it appears.
Yeah, I think that there are 2 big questions here, not only class, but also distance, Dan. She's been really good going shorter than this. They're going to try the 9 furlongs with her here, and they're going to do it against a really good field.
I think you can make the argument that the number 6 Jun Lightbolt is the best dirt horse in Japan, the older best dirt horse right now. He's won his last 3 starts, so we're going to take a look at his most recent effort. This is the Champions Cup back on December the 4th. And as you see, the horse on the lead is the horse we were talking about, Crown Pride, who's fending everybody off. The horse in the circle is June Lightbolt, who's got to find a way out, and he's going to alter course to the outside. And once he gets in the clear, despite failing to change leads, he comes with a flying finish.
Yeah, this is a pretty good run he puts in here. He was blocked in traffic for an awful long way. Ultimately, things worked out for him, but he finished really well once he saw some daylight. Only switched over to dirt very recently, Dan, his last 4 starts, but he's been pretty good.
Remorse is up next, the number 8. He was third in the Al Maktoum Challenge, one of the usual prep races for the Dubai World Cup. He was a winner in Dubai 2 starts back. Distance is not a problem for this horse, who did compete in the Dubai World Cup last year and was beaten by Country Grammar.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, maybe that running line makes him at least a little interested in here, Dan. I know that he, was never a real factor in there, but I got to believe that last year's Dubai World Cup was a bit of a tougher race than this one is. And he was beating less than 5 lengths in that race. I mean, I didn't think he ran horribly, and maybe this is just a much better spot for him.
The defending champion is up next. That's the number 4, Emblem Road. He's 10-1 on the morning line for this year's edition of the Saudi Cup. He must have been 1,000,000-1 last year, but 10 starts on dirt, 8 wins, 1 second, 1 third, nothing to sneeze at. After he won this race last year, they sent him to France. They ran him in a race on turf, which is not his surface, and he didn't perform very well. But he came back with a prep last time out, going a mile, and he won very easily.
Yeah, exactly. They gave him the prep leading up to this, which is a very good thing for him. It's impossible to knock his dirt form, Dan. You mentioned in the open that this is one of those dirt courses that maybe some horses just really like. This horse seems to really like it, and he won this race last year. I know he was a huge price. It's not like he lucked into that win. He was wide all the way around the track. Country Grammar got a perfect trip and made the lead, and this horse came and got him.
The 11 Vanderground is up next, another horse coming from Japan. This horse has raced exclusively on turf in his career. He is rock solid on turf. You look at this pedigree, it is all turf, so huge questions.
Yeah, another horse who's got some ability, and they're going to take a shot at a big purse here, switching surfaces with them. I'll be surprised if it works out, but they're going to take their shot.
Country Grammar, the number 2, returned from a lengthy layoff last year in the Saudi Cup, ran an excellent second behind Emblem Road, parlayed that prep into a big win in the Dubai World Cup, and was a very steady campaigner once he returned to the United States. He capped off his 2022 season with a victory in the Grade 2 San Antonio, going a mile and a 16th at Santa Anita against completely overmatched competition.
Yeah, that's the key to this race, because as easily as he wins it, it's just not a very strong field. And I say that, prefacing it by saying this distance that he's winning at here is a little bit too short for him. He's a better horse going longer. If this was a mile and a quarter like the Dubai World Cup is, I would say that maybe he's got a real chance to upset Taiba in here. I think the shorter distance actually works against this horse. And again, he got a great trip in this race last year, and I thought he got run down without excuse.
The 12 is Lagertha Rhyme. This is a horse that has been competing in Saudi Arabia, beaten by Sunset Flash last time out. Another mare with an honest record that might be facing a little bit too tough in terms of competition.
Yeah, that's probably true. At least you don't have to worry about distance with her, though. The 9 furlongs seems like it's a really good fit for her. So that's a benefit, if nothing else. It still feels like this is a tough spot.
Up next is the number 5, Geoglyph, another horse coming in from Japan, and another horse trying dirt for the first time. This horse pulled off a little bit of an upset last year in the Japanese 2000 Guineas, didn't perform as well in 3 subsequent starts. So not only do you have the surface questions, and this horse is really bred for turf, even though he is by Dreyfang, who was sort of a pretty good sprinter miler on dirt in the States, but you also have some form questions as well.
Yeah, exactly. Once they really moved her up in class, things just didn't really work out for her. She's lightly raced enough that you don't want to, be too hard on her for those last 3 starts. Then, she showed some talent early on. I don't know if she's a dirt horse.
Completing the field is the number 1, Cafe Pharaoh, is going to have to break from the far outside post in this race. He's always been one of the better dirt horses in Japan. My personal feeling is he's at his best going a flat mile. Maybe he can get this distance given the right setup from the outside post. Things are going to have to work out.
Yeah, they are. Maybe the one turn 9 furlongs is a benefit to him as well, Dan. I sort of looked at him the same way you did it. He kind of feels like a horse who's better going a little bit shorter than this, but maybe the one turn helps him.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the $20 million Saudi Cup. Hate to chalk out in here. Really been impressed with Taiba, Mike. And as a lightly raced 4-year-old, there's a chance that he's got all the upside still. The 1.125 concerns me a little bit, shipping overseas over a surface that can be a little bit quirky. We've seen some horses go over there and just not handle it at all.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's something that you have to at least concern yourself with. He's a pretty good horse, Dan. I found it hard to, talk myself into anybody to play against him in here, even though he's going to be a short price. I'll just be watching. I'll be very interested to see if Emblem Road can come back with another big performance trying to defend his title.
I'm curious to see how Crown Pride does. Of the Japanese dirt horses, he might be the third choice of the sort of big 3 that have been racing on dirt. I like his tactical speed. He's been in good form without winning. He's done it on the international stage. Maybe he can sort of spice up the number. 10-6-2-4 for Mike, 10-2-3-6 for me. Grade 1, $20 million Saudi Cup on Saturday. Best of luck.